Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this first ever English Zoom call. We are going to have a very special guest today, but before I get into that, I'd like to explain this is the first ever Zoom call and is being hosted by Rome Reports Premium and also Stand Together. For those of y'all who do not know what Stand Together is, it's basically an online platform in cahoots with Rome Reports. And what we do is we try to raise awareness of Christian persecution around the world. So we cover different countries like Yemen, Iraq, Syria, Egypt, India, countries where there's a lot of persecution and people are not being aware and made aware of this. So today we're going to be speaking about Syria. And we're going to have a wonderful priest, a Franciscan friar, who will be joining us, Father Firas Lutfi. So we'll just wait a couple minutes. I know more people are joining as the minutes go on. Here we go. See. Wonderful. Great, and as we're here, I'd love to give a shout out and the warmest welcome to some of our embassies and ambassadors who are here with us. For example, the Spanish ambassador, Carmen de la Peña, and also the British ambassador, Sally Axworthy. Welcome to the Zoom call. Thank you so much for being with us. And I know there's a lot of other embassies who have different representatives who are joining us as well today. So welcome to you all. Thank you so much for being here. We're just waiting a couple more minutes for everyone to get connected. Thank you so much for your patience. So the way this Zoom call is going to work today, I'll give you a bit of a preview as people are coming in. Essentially what it is we're going to have 20 minutes of Father Firas speaking. So he's going to tell us about the situation in Aleppo. He was there for a period of time in this war that's now nearing 10 years. And now he's in Beirut. So he's dealing with refugees and a lot of the coronavirus situation and how it's affecting those areas. So we're waiting for him to join, but that will be that. And then after he'll speak for about those 20 minutes, we'll be doing a Q&A session. So y'all are welcome to send your questions. You can send them in the chat. And then I can read those off to him and he can get those answered for you. Also, I would like to see if our CEO at Rome Reports would like to say a word or two as we're waiting. Antonio Olivier, I've just unmuted your mic, Antonio, if you'd like to also give a welcome to
Okay, no, welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to talk with you and to open for first time this Zoom meeting in English, because we have done some meetings in Spanish, but this is our first opportunity, and it's interesting for us to do it with the topic of the persecuted Christians. No, that is, few people is talking about this topic, and it's important to raise in awareness. So we are committed in this purpose, and I think that it will be an interesting conversation. Thank you, Melissa. I don't know if Father is ready now. Not okay. We have the connection with him. It's not now.
Sorry, I had muted myself. No, I don't see him yet. So I
because
think we're just waiting.
yesterday we check it and it works, fortunately, but
Connection had worked perfectly, exactly.
okay. And I think, Melissa, you can remind that everybody can participate, can send message to the chat, no?
Exactly, exactly. So that's in the Q&A section right after he speaks. Y'all can send your questions in the chat and I'll get those answered for you. And just a quick introduction of myself. I didn't even say who I am. I'm the senior English correspondent here at Rome Reports. So I've been here for more than 4 years, living here in Rome and covering everything, the Vatican, the Pope, and Rome. So it's been wonderful. So I know some of y'all live in Rome as well.
And it's more wonderful now without tourists, no? Without it's only for
Yes
us,
and no.
this city, no?
Yes and no, it's true.
No, it's incredible to be in this city that is empty, no? The city center. No, it's something that never happened.
Yeah, and hopefully it will never happen again.
No, fortunately, yes, yes. For sure.
I hope.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm looking if Father. I don't know if Adriana has the connection with him by phone.
Yeah, maybe she can give him a call or something. Oh, I heard we are in contact with him. So we're seeing what we can do about the connection and getting him connected. Thank you all again for your patience. Sorry about this.
Maybe in the meantime, you can do the introduction of him, no?
Wonderful.
Melissa?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. So for a couple of y'all who just joined again, I will just give y'all a brief rundown of what it is. So essentially, Father Firas Lutfi is going to speak around 20 minutes, giving us insight into persecuted Christians and what he has personally experienced. Then we're going to do Q&A. But Father Firas Lutfi is a Franciscan friar with the custody of the Holy Land. He's currently minister of the St. Paul region. So that includes Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan. So he's, as I mentioned before, he'll tell us about the Christian experience and what's actually going on right now in Syria in its 10th year of war, as I had mentioned. And now with the coronavirus, you know. So he lived in Aleppo during the war, and now he's in Beirut, Lebanon, where he currently resides. So there's also in Lebanon, as y'all know, a serious economic crisis. So the country is looking for new ways to help the refugees who are there and those who are displaced by the war in Syria. So yeah, that's who will be speaking to us today. I'm sure it will be very informative. We'll be learning a lot. I'll see if there's an update on the status really quickly.
Mm.
So I heard we had resent the link to Father Firas, and we'll see if he'll be able to connect in this way.
Because you talked with him yesterday, no? Just yesterday, he was on the road, no?
Yes,
From
he was driving, and there were some revolutions and some protests going on. Even as he was driving, he showed me on the camera. So he was diverting and taking different routes and stuff to get back home. But today he was doing his call from his home, so maybe the streets have better connection. You never know.
No, in Lebanon, it's crazy to drive in that city, no?
I've never been, so I can't say.
We were 2 years ago. We went to a refugee camp in Lebanon in order to talk with people from Iraq and from Syria that are living there, Christians, because they need to fly from Iraq, and the situation of the refugees in that country is very tough, no? Because there are more than 4 million refugees living there in Lebanon. And now with the war in Syria, the situation is worse, no, than ever, because there are people from Palestine and from other countries, and in the last 3-4 years, from Iraq, from Syria. And it's important. It's interesting. There are many Catholic organizations working there, trying to promote the education of the young people there, the Christians there, the Christians communities, because there are Chaldeans and different denominations of Christians, and they try to remain united and to give hope to the new generations. That is something that is not easy, no? When you are living in a foreign country in such conditions, no, of poverty, and it's tough. We did some news packages for Run reports and for this project of Stand Together there, and it was interesting, no, the work of the Catholic Church there. I don't know, Melissa, do you have any update?
On Father Firas, unfortunately, no, but there are some questions that people have been asking, even on Rome Reports. So I know that you can definitely answer this, Antonio. How many subscribers does Rome Reports have in English, Spanish, and when will it expand to Portuguese, French, German, Chinese, Arabic, Hindu?
No, we have we have in English in YouTube. We have more than 190,000 subscribers in YouTube. In Spanish in YouTube we have more than 300,000 subscribers in English. It depends in Facebook. I don't remember now the numbers, but are you can check it there. And we don't have the purpose of to have Run reports in French or in Chinese. We are a TV news.
Antonio, sorry to interrupt you. Okay. Father Firas is connecting.
Okay, good.
Sorry to interrupt you about that.
Welcome, Father Firas.
Exactly. Let me see. Melissa. He might be on mute. Let me see if I can unmute him for a second. Has to unmute. Let's go. Father Firas, welcome. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello, nice how are you?
Thank God, everything's okay.
Yes, you made it.
Yes, finally.
Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome for being here. Thank you for coming. Wonderful. So I've already explained who you are and how you've lived in Aleppo. Now you're in Beirut, and I know that all of our guests are really eager to hear what you have to say. So let's just get started. If you'd like to tell us a little bit about your situation and what you lived in Aleppo. I know we're almost in the 10th year of war in Syria, so can you tell us a little bit about that and what your experience was like?
Yes, let's say thank you for your invitation to open this window in Middle East, especially in the martyriate city of Aleppo. I lived in Aleppo before, during, and after the war. Before the war, Aleppo was the beautiful and nice city, heritage of humanity, the city of financial and commercial, was really amazing. During the war, the situation changed completely because it was the symbol of destruction and desolation for all around Syria. lots of families left the city. The high number of died was dramatic. Thousands of women and children, and also the phenomenon of immigration, really terrible. So during the war, I touched with my hand the need of people. They had to need everything from the elementary thing, food, something to eat, and the problem of how to arrange and to convince families to stay, to remain during the war. The challenge was really very, very difficult. But thanks God, we realized lots of projects to sustain and to support not only the Christian family remain. Remember that before the war, the number of Christian was more than 250,000, but a case of suffering, the number is really reduced by 32,000. So this small community of Christians still remaining in Aleppo, we had to take care about them and to help them, children, women, elders, especially disease and the healthy. And also our charity is open for everybody in Syria, for Muslims, because in Syria we have this nice ancient tradition to believe together, to live one beside another. And this is maybe a good lesson for maybe all humanity, because for centuries, Christian and Muslims and very different kind of cultures living and working together. So in my convent, I tried to put on a nice big project to sustain children with traumatic post-war. We occurs that the children of Aleppo has had a fear from water, from they have no chance to go and to play. So we realized a swimming pool in the convent to enjoy a nice and beautiful moment. And also we realized 3 football and basketball camps. So with my assistant, with a beautiful and specialized team work, we put on this beautiful project called art therapy. So we take care about these injured in their spirit. They had fear for everything, for bombs, for assassination, from terrorism. And we try to take care about this psychological aspect. And the numbers of children was really huge, thousands of them that they can and join with this project. And also in Aleppo, in eastern Aleppo, the part was really damaged completely. You can't see houses, but only ruins. And we occurs that during the war, born lots of children without a kind of registration, official registration in government. And they are born during the difficult time, maybe with marriage with Syrian ladies and somebody foreign. And these children grow without any kind of attention and take care. So we created another project called Name and Future, because without name, you can't have any future. And we created 2 big centers in different quarters in Aleppo. And we have really very nice experience with children and also with the ladies, with their mothers. So we try to give them not only psychological support, but also physiotherapy and logopedy, everything that they need. And also to give them instruction and learning them languages, English and French. So it is a very beautiful project in Aleppo.
Wow, how beautiful. Thank you so much, Father. So then you're really addressing those needs, as you said, the fear that they have, and even the psychological needs. Wow. And I'm also curious, how are you guys really addressing like the starvation, those sort of physical needs that they have, and the lack of homes and the lack of, I mean, how are y'all addressing the poverty that you're seeing there as well?
You know, after 9 years of war, all the families, all the Syrian families was touched by this suffering. So entire families, especially the person who works before, because Syria was really a rich country. We didn't have a huge number of poverty, but a case of several years of fighting and suffering, I can say that entire society is under the line of poverty. Imagine that fathers of family who lost his work and house, how can arrange to put on a dignity life for his parents. So in that case, we try to distribute it, and a box is elementary to help them. But the most important thing also to feel that he is a human being, not only somebody subject of distribution. So we created a small and media project, mini economy, mini and macro economy, to help. For example, if somebody is specialized in one construction and he has a computer, maybe offices, we help him to buy and to create this mini project. And really that was really amazing, because people likes to work, not just to create an kind of assistantialism. It is difficult, but because it requires lots of money. And remember that what was one limit of our charity, that a case of embargo against Syria since the beginning of the war. If you want to send something, maybe $50 and $100 to help a family in need, you can't do it, because directly it was forbidden, a case of embargo, the sanction, economical, and the problem of sanctions still now. So the unique way was to send it through Lebanon, through the banks of Lebanon. Our friars who stayed in Lebanon helped us. Nowadays, Lebanon also suffered, we open maybe another chapter. Lebanon itself are in a huge difficulty in the financial, economical problems, crisis, also the coronavirus that is really take time and make the situation more danger and more dramatic.
Wow. Yeah, and I want to continue to, with Syria also, I wanted to ask you about, I mean, think the birth of Christianity, of Christians that have been there for more than 2,000 years. Can you tell me also in your experience how you saw that really affect Christians and, you know, with being displaced and different things, how did that really affect Christianity in the area?
Yeah, first of all, Christian in Syria was really the source of Christianity. The first time, as you read in Acts of Apostles, that the first time the name of Christian was in Antioch, near our presence in Syria. And the apostolic tradition, St. Paul, he met the Christ, died and risen in Damascus, the capital of Syria. And we have, just to mention it, 2 sanctuaries, 2 apostolic related to St. Paul. One of them, the meeting of Jesus with St. Paul, who was Shaul, the persecutor of church. And the 2nd century, we call it Hananiah. Hananiah was the place of baptism and the transformation of St. Paul from the persecutor of Christian to persecutor, a case of Christ, because he was being a Christian. So the tradition of Christian in Syria was very old, from the beginning of the history of the church in all around the world. And this kind of tradition continuing to through 2 centuries. Nowadays, this beautiful and nice and continuously presence of Christian is touched and suffering a case of troubles and problem. Some villages and some places suffered above a case of persecution, because don't forget that the jihadists and one aspect of the war in Syria is fighting for Islam, for the state, Islamic State. And we have had more than thousands of foreign fighters came from more than 80 nations to fight the holy war, as in Islam is called. So many of Christians suffered the mutilation and the die, or to leave their place or their cities and to escape, maybe in Lebanon or in Europe. We have more than 6 million of population are living in Turkey, in Jordan, and in Lebanon. So before the war, the number of Christians was 2 million, 8% of entire population. Now, I don't have an idea. We don't have exact statistic how are the Christian now, but I assure you maybe more than half of entire Christian are left the country, unfortunately.
Wow. And then how does coronavirus play into all of that? I mean, I don't think y'all have a lot of contagion in the country, but probably is affecting y'all also with poverty in various ways. Can you tell me a little bit about that, and also into Lebanon and how that affects you in Beirut?
Yes, you touched the main idea and the main question, because effectively in Syria we have not a huge number of coronavirus affected, but the consequences of coronavirus touch all the population, because all together must stay at home. But the majority of population can take money just when they work every day. So when you said to mother of family to stay at home to protect their children and don't exit from home because it is danger, because there is a coronavirus pandemic. So as you saying him, try to die by hungry, because nobody knocked on your door and give you food, because the country already after 9 years of war is in terrible situation. So already the country have a suffering and hungry, and the last 2 months of coronavirus pandemic created a big trouble. I can assure you that one of my friend, one day I called him to say, hi, how are you? He said to me, I prefer to die by coronavirus and not by hungry. I can't afford to see my children dying in front of my eyes without do anything. So the situation actually a case of coronavirus, but plus 9 years of war is really in huge emergency.
Wow.
Huge emergency. Yes. And you can imagine now, you can imagine also not only the embargo and the international sanctions of Syria, but now the actual Caesar sanctions how will touch more and more the population. Unfortunately, this kind of sanctions touch especially the population and especially create more and more poverty and desolation.
Wow. And we have a couple questions, Father, from some of the participants that I would love to ask you as we're moving along. Before we kind of get into Beirut and that whole situation and what you're living now as well. One of the questions says, I visit Iraq frequently and the numbers of Iraqi Christians are currently around 200,000, down from nearly 2 million in 2003, and they continue to drop. There's very little hope to stop this demographic hemorrhage. It'd be helpful if you can also reflect on how that is in Syria.
Yeah, the situation in Iraq is similar as in Syria because I'm trust that there is a program, a strategy to take off the Christian from their country, from their homeland. This terrible planning, I don't know. I hope that God don't permit this to happen, but we can read just the history from the beginning of 20th century in Palestine, in Holy Land, the situation in Numbering, and in Iraq, now in Syria, and before in Lebanon. We can see how demographic situation is changed dramatically. So maybe after a few years, we can't see any Christian in the place, just museum, churches, but empty, and the sanctuary in Holy Land, but without the local Christian community. This is the danger that we are cursed, and we have to try to not realize, and especially we have to find ways to help Christian to stay, to remain, to help population to continue their life in their homeland. I don't encourage families to escape, but under danger situation, you can't say to father or mother of family, remain, but I can't do anything for you. So the question is, as in Iraq was dramatic and catastrophic diminution of number of Christian, the same thing is happening in Syria, unfortunately.
Wow, and how many of y'all Franciscans were there in Syria? How big was?
About 15 friars. Okay. And we are living in all around Syria, in all the city. We have parish of Damascus. We have 3 presence in Damascus, also in the city of Aleppo, because Aleppo and Damascus are the biggest city in Syria. Also, we have in Latakia, in the sea, in the beautiful city of Latakia, and also we have in the region of Idlib. Now we are hearing a lot of the conflict and the unique presence of jihadists are still live in Idlib. So in Idlib we have small Christian community because lots of them had to escape from the persecution, and jihadist controls all that region. So we have the unique presence taken care by 2 Franciscan brothers. So the unique Christian presence under the jihadist control, taken care by really beautiful and amazing shepherd, like the good shepherd, like Jesus, who gave himself because the others can live good and continue to living in the good situation. So we have about 15 friars. They are living beside their sheep. And this is what I think interesting, because the Franciscan didn't live Christian alone. They decide since the beginning of the war to stay and to take care although with lot of suffering and persecution. For example, the two friars that they are still living now in Idlib was several times kidnapped by jihadists. And nowadays, we have one of parishes kidnapped 15 days ago. He is father of four. He has 4 daughters, and we don't have any news from him. They took him from his home, and we are waiting to hear his news that he is good. Usually they ask money, but this time, this occasion didn't have any kind of contact, and I can describe the preoccupation of his wife and his daughters. They are worried a lot about his healthy, about his in life, he died. We don't have any kind of news. And this is not the unique case, but several times we have or died or kidnapped people, also the priests. In 2013, I was there for 2 months, and the jihadists shooting a priest there, Father Francois Mourad, and I was there and I celebrated his funeral. You can imagine the fear of people and the desolation, because when you killed the head of community, all entire community is in risk, is in danger. But thanks God, the faith of that people was great, and they decided to remain, to conserve that ancient tradition and the ancient presence of Christianity. There were first time we called it Christian.
Beautiful. And we have a couple more questions, Father, regarding the interaction with Muslim and the Muslim community. So the first question is asking if you believe that Christians like Western Christians essentially are aware enough of the situation in the Middle East and of the persecution with Christians there, and who exactly is the cause of the war? Are they real Muslims, those dedicated to Islam, or more extremists, or young people who are also looking for a goal and trying to get in with the Muslim community? So you can answer that, and then I'll go on to the next question.
Yes. Yeah, beautiful question, because somebody think that the case of war is Islam or war between religions, but it isn't, because this war caused by economical and political and geopolitical interests. So the war in Syria, but in entire all the Middle East, caused by pure economical and political interest. So religions is not just an instrument to increase the problem and to divide all the country, and inside the country in region. This region governed by Sunni, by Muslims, by imagine that in Syria we have more than 18 religion and also ethnic presence. So it is very easy to divide them with the name of religion. But the war, the main problem, not the religion, because I said before, just a few minutes ago, that in Syria, Syria is a big tradition. Several time Christian and Muslims live together, but there is a difference between Islam and extremism and fanatism and jihadism. Jihadism is not the real face of Islam, like in Middle Age. No, the situation was the same for Christian. We have had also a kind of fanatism and the fighting for religion is not the correct style to live the religion, because religion, what is in basically to open your heart and to create good relationship with others, especially to have respect and to see the positive thing in them. So in Syria, the war, I repeat, mainly political and economical interest. But I understand the fear of Eastern, of Europe, for example, or states from the jihadism. Jihadism is not the real face of religion.
That ties right into our next question, Father, by the ambassador, the British ambassador. She asks, how are relations between Christians and Muslims at the local level? And has jihadist ideology changed non-jihadist attitudes toward Christians?
Yes. In my experience, let me explain my personal experience with Islam. In my teamwork with this project are common Muslims and Christians. The head of the project, the supervisor of project is a lady called Binan. She is Muslim. She's a doctor in psychology. The centers that we opened, we created in Eastern Aleppo, name and the future, all that region is completely Muslims, but I am a Christian and I'm going there every day to take care about Muslims. And the most important thing, starting to think about these children abandoning and without an official registration, the basic relationship was between the head of the Muslim community in Aleppo, called Mufti, Mahmoud Akkam, and our bishop, head of the Christian Latin community. So the starting of the project, the pushing of project was like dialogue between Muslims and Christians. That is naturally in Syria. We don't have fear from others because we live together, we are living together, and we will stay to continue to live in work, in university, in study, and in natural and normal life of every day. So we don't have fear from the different in ethnic and religion, and this is really natural in Syria.
Wonderful. Also, another question. Can you please touch on the situation of religious freedom in northeast Syria? So, for example, explaining what happened in Afrin following the Turkish invasion. This person says that they're aware that there was a Kurdish evangelical church in Afrin before the invasion. But do you know what happened to the congregation and those people there?
Look, you touched the history of Turkish invasion in Syria, and this is true because Syria is a sovereign country. United Nations accept and has a relationship with Syria because it is a country with all right, with all entire possibility to be a sovereign. So when like Turkish has an invasion in Syria, put all the area in danger, and they are not respecting the freedom, not give the chance for Christian community to practice also their faith and their traditions. We have had 400 years of invasion of Turkish government in Syria. It was really terrible because they destroyed everything, books, traditions, population. We have had a sad experience with Turkish government in past and also in nowadays. But before the war, I can assure you, because I lived in Syria there, we have this liberty of cult, because you as a Christian, you can practice your faith in church. Sometimes we have a procession around the church. For example, the procession with the Virgin Mary at the end of May or month of May. Lots of people, lots of faithful come and participate and enjoy that procession. So we have, and we are respectable as a Christian as we are, without a force to change our religion. No, nobody forced us to change our religion. So this is great in an Arabic state like Syria.
Mm-hmm.
Hope that this will be continued in future, because religion and the freedom of religion is a part of human dignity, to respect what you are living and what is your faith.
Exactly. And what can we learn from the courage of the Christians that are living in Syria as well?
Yeah, the Christian of Syria give me every day a kind of moment of meditation, because I think that the war was really terrible and terrifying, and there is no an energy to support everything, but just the grace of God could give this power and energy to continue with a sense of satisfaction. Sometimes I met families with psychological problem of anxiety. Others family are worried about future of them and of their also children, because the future still till now is without any kind of view. So, but at the same time, because Christian in Syria still having the support of God, the presence of God, the grace of God, they are going on with their faith. They are taking their cross, although they are in the Golgotha, not yet in the Sunday of resurrection. We are still in agony, in moment of suffering. But also I ask their desire that entire community, the national community, think and take care about them. Because as a Christian, we believe that we are entire family, all baptized, everybody in the church are my sister and my brother. So the hopeful moment is to enjoy this feeling part of entire big family. So this is maybe my invitation to our friend who are following our interview, my little testimony, to open their heart, to think, to pray, but also to be generous. Sometimes without this generosity, without the money that we received in past and nowadays, we can't afford to continue. It is really danger and difficult to continue. So it is maybe an occasion to have this invitation to be really generous and to think in spiritual way in praying, thinking every day, praying for them, that the Lord take them in his peace and give them consolation, but also to be generous, to feel like concrete charity.
Wonderful. And I think, Father, we have the last couple questions and then we'll be wrapping up the meeting, okay? So the first question is, do you have a message to the West and Western politicians regarding Turkey? So that's regarding, the NATO members that have done nothing but threatening and jeopardizing the security of Europe. So that one first, and then I'll go on to the final one.
Yes. My invitation is for international communities that, especially for everybody who has the decision and the rule of control of the situation, that they take seriously what is happening in Syria. It was and it is the blasphemy, very as a humanity. It is not kind of a good thing that what they are doing in Syria. International community should take seriously part of this conflict. They have also the rule to do, the responsibility, first of all, to take off the sanctions from the population, because a few minutes ago I said that sanctions touch not the government, not responsibles, but especially the children, the young women, and the poorest of the poor, that they are the majority in Syria. Unfortunately, we are listening and we are seeing that somebody think to impose another sanctions and to put the situation more complicated that is complicated. So my invitation is to think with heart what is happening in Syria, this disaster, a huge damage in all entire humanity, the destruction of infrastructure, the ancient and beautiful heritage of humanity, and also to be generous to sustain, for example, the projects that Franciscan in Syria is is realizing there, and to feel that we are really part of the same family. The problem of pandemic, for example, feel us that we are fragile. We are a limited creature. We are not God. And especially the problem that touch the one person in United States or in Europe is the same in Syria or in Iraq. So just to think about how the virus is small, and also how the human being should be also in relationship, to open the arms and to have solidarity, okay? To share the same problems and also the same joy and satisfaction.
Beautiful, Father. And now we're just going to wrap up the meeting with the final question, which touches on where you are right now in Beirut, Lebanon. So the question is, can you just tell us a little bit about Lebanon, where the situation seems to be collapsing again, and how can we help you in your work?
Yes, since last March, Lebanese people had a moment of frustration of the government. So all entire square in Lebanon was full of people who want to change something in better, to have more democracy, to have a new system of government according with their need. So at the same time, all entire banks here had a collapse. So several project and industry, also business stopped. Lots of workership and many people, especially young, lost their job. And this created a big problem since maybe 6 months, and still the problem without resolution. The pandemic came and put another problem, because people can't afford to stay at home without work, and the problem of poverty also touch more than half of society. So the solution is in hands of responsibles, of politicians, and all people who have control of society. But this problem is increased because 30 years of corruption maybe don't have a concrete and transparency created these difficulties. But we are working to be beside people also here, like in Syria. I am creating now center of emergency. I distribute boxes elementary, and I am creating now a big and ambitious project to help universitarian youngs, because they are the future of country, and many other things. This is just a sign, just a piece of something for building country, because Lebanon is already in the middle of big trouble. So also the Lebanon needs our prayer. I'm praying every day, my community, all the Franciscan, the church, also the Muslims. We pray God to save this country from problems, because the problems already are big. But to have really, to enjoy peace, to enjoy progress, and to enjoy really a beautiful time.
Wonderful. Well, Father, with that, we just want to conclude this meeting. First of all, thank you so much for giving your testimony and sharing your experiences with us. I'm sure everyone can agree, and I know there's been a lot of messages written just saying thank you so much for being here and all of your work that you're doing in Lebanon and in your time in Syria and your work with the other Franciscan friars. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your invitation. God bless you. Thank you for our followers through social media. God bless you all. And I repeat, just if you have an occasion to help your brothers and sisters in humanity and in Christianity here in Middle East, in Lebanon, in Syria, please do it. And God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Father. And thank you to everyone else who joined us for this Zoom conference as well. I'm sure in the future there will be other conferences where we'll learn other things, just like we did here today with Father Firas.
I'm ready. Thank you.
Thank you all so much, and have a great evening.
God bless.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.